We're trying to get Antifa to stop putting pictures on Community, Solidarity Calgary, an Instagram and a Twitter site where they have pictures of me and Ryan Odette and other people on this site calling us white nationalists and other racist comments.
That what are you protesting? The mandates are over. What is it that you're out here for? So what do you say to those people who don't understand?
The mandates are far from being over. In actuality, it's not just only the mandates that we're protesting. The digital ID that they're in some parts of the country they already have in place. It's the digital currency, and then who knows, maybe a social credit system. You know, unless we do something about it now, that's going to be the future of Canada, I believe.
Adam Soos here for Rebel News, and we are once again on location for the anti-mandate and anti-COVID-19 restriction protest that is taking place here in Calgary. As you very likely know, the protestlawsuit.com appeal and challenge against the injunction that was limiting people's capacity to protest very much had an influence. That injunction now for the second week in a row is gone. People are left to gather peacefully and continue to protest as they have been without incident for virtually 2 years.
We're not, but they're using this information, these pictures that they take now, that you guys are saying that they're allowed to take, and we're saying we're trying to do everything we can to stop them from taking them because they're putting the public information out that we are domestic terrorists.
So there are two masked individuals behind me here. A number of the protesters have actually come across the street. It's alleged that they were taking pictures of some of the women and children. Some of the folks over there uncomfortable. So they've come over, largely engaging with them peacefully. But we apparently do also have footage of these same individuals taking part in an Antifa-style protest using bikes to push people, counter-protesting actively. We've also heard, and again, these are unwarranted or unfounded allegations at this point, but allegations that they were among the people often reporting people, allegedly doxing people, even some of the people identifying them in the media, on social media. So certainly a troubling interaction. We saw a little bit of sort of jostling as we were first rolling up here, but it seems to have dissipated just into some conversation now. But it remains to be seen what shall happen. These people are familiar faces around these protests, often hanging out across the street, largely not interacting, but some troubling stuff here certainly.
I don't care if they take photos, they cannot use those photos on their websites to promote hate against us.
So the police did make their way over. There was a bit of a conversation. The folks here very sort of calmly explaining that the photos being taken by these people and their friends have been used online. These people attending the protests have been doxed. Their information is being shared publicly on social media boards, and they're saying that they want the police to take action and stop this. We tried to speak to the alleged Antifa members as well. Do you guys have a response to this? Like, are you just taking pictures and not sharing it online or anything? Okay, I mean, I'm just giving you an opportunity to share your side of the story. Because if you're not putting them online and they're saying that, we can include that in the video. Not interested? Okay, sure, that's fine. They said they're not going to speak to Rebel News in any way, shape, or form. But while all this was taking place, a number of people pulled up the community boards with photos being taken from this angle and actually showed the police that the photos that are being taken by these people every week from this spot are indeed those being used to dox people on these online boards. Extremely troubling. We spoke to the police and asked what could be done.
I don't even know what the overall situation is, right? I'm just trying to hear everyone's side of the story here and figure out what everyone's perspective is and what the overall problem is. I don't know. I can't really.
So then, theoretically, setting this situation aside, if a group of people are taking pictures of people, then identifying them online, let's say it's not this, but just theoretically, what is the judicial process for that?
I don't have an answer for that. Okay. I have no idea, because it's happening to us right now. People from both sides are taking pictures of us as well and doxing us. Like, I don't know. I don't have an answer for you. So at the end of the day, we just want to make sure everyone's calm and you can have healthy debate. And we just want to minimize any sort of confrontation. Right, so we're just going to de-escalate and keep things calm.
Swear to God, we're going to put motions up of you guys as predators all over downtown.
Thanks for the follow. Keep checking in.
But certainly some action taking place today. The people, as you can see right now, continuing to take photos of people just to my right here. People still asking them to stop, but they are not. We're going to continue to follow this. We'll follow up with the police to see what they say, if they can issue a formal response, if they will investigate this doxing, or if once again it'll be one rule for me, one rule for thee. These people constantly being targeted with injunctions and persecution. These people getting away with absolutely whatever they want. So there was a bit of an interaction with the folks over there. Allegedly, they were sort of taking pictures picture of women and kids, and they're also involved in doxing some people. What you interact with them a bit? What exactly happened?
Well, we went over and approached him, asked him like, what are you doing? Are you profiling us? And he said it's our right to take pictures of people if we like. So I brought up questions like, are you taking pictures of the children? Are you taking pictures of the women? And he said, well, if you don't want your pictures taken, you shouldn't be outside. So we might have up the situation a little bit by asking, like, do you go to schoolyards, and find that same mentality appropriate? And he got defensive, started taking pictures of us again. But there's for me, no clear proof. But this gentleman in particular has been here several times. The girl I know, when we had a rally when we weren't allowed here or at Olympic Plaza, we went to the provincial courthouse, and she was floating around there. And I ended up on a C train after, and she got on the C train and like followed me back to where I was going, just staring at me. So these interactions are kind of uncomfortable. So we went out of our way to try and approach him, find out what's going on. As you guys know, Ryan had some pictures taken from one of the rallies, his address given out. So I started thinking, like, was she trying to follow me home? Is she profiling me to give my information out so people come to my home and attack me? Because if so, that's illegal. So if they're profiling us, I'm trying to, I guess, essentially profile them too. Why are you doing this? Who are you? And what is this for?
And what did you make of the sort of police indifference? Obviously, they just went over there trying to de-escalate the situation, but a number of people were sort of showing evidence that they're doxing people, that it seems to be them taking the photos and what can be done. Beyond de-escalating, they didn't really seem to want to help or become involved in any way.
Yeah, they claim that they're uninformed, that they weren't on duty, that the information wasn't passed to them, like everything that we brought up, they didn't know about, assumably, but they more seem to focus on what we felt about them. And I couldn't help but say, like, the way we've been treated, we're here peaceful. Anybody that's actually been part of this knows that we're a peaceful movement, but we've been assaulted or attacked or like spoken down to or whatever by these police, maybe not these ones in particular. And I feel bad that if maybe I felt that I was being mean to him, maybe he's one of the guys that I would portray as a good, honest police officer, but we can't help but portray that the police force works for Mayor Gondik or for the police chief instead of for the people.
So the injunction now for 2 weeks has been dropped. People are once again free to gather without fear of undue persecution, prosecution, any of that stuff. For those people out there, there is still this sentiment, despite how many times people explain it, that what are you protesting? The mandates are over. What is it that you're out here for? So what do you say to those people who don't understand?
The mandates are far from being over. In actuality, it's not just only the mandates that we're protesting. The digital ID that they're in some parts of the country they already have in place. It's the digital currency, and then who knows, maybe a social credit system. You know, unless we do something about it now, that's going to be the future of Canada, I believe. But you know, all we can do is protest. The more people there are, the better.
What do you have to say about the day today?
I'm saying we're here at City Hall. There's one thing I know for sure. Every crooked politician in here must go and Trudeau!
So many people out there don't understand why people are continuing to protest. In their mind, the mandates are done, everything's back to normal. What do you say to those people who don't understand why people are still protesting?
The lack of information, going out and researching the facts, the data, and not being mesmerized by mainstream media, which is telling a different story. Just even, for example, my family, they wanted me to hop on a plane and go out east with them. And I said, we can't because we're not vaccinated. Like, they didn't know that. And I think if that's my family that doesn't know it, and then who, you know, majority of people don't understand that we're limited. But another key thing is not only that those rights are being taken away from unvaxxed, is also that they should be on the alert, because if they're demanding 2 shots now, they'll probably want 3 shots, 4 shots in the future. So they should be able to foresee, like all of us are, that this is only going to get worse if we're just compliant.
Still can't get on an airplane. We're still being held hostage by our Canadian government. We're still here because there are people who can't apply for certain jobs unless they're vaccinated. There are people who we just can't roam freely. Freedom is about having that ability, our charter right to move freely across the country, across borders, even outside of the country. So yeah, that's the reason we're here. There's still a lot that needs to be done.
Well, I say things aren't back to normal at all. You know, it's kind of a facade when you hear about masks being dropped in certain places. There's still mandates. You know, they're running strong, and we have to banish the whole thing as a whole to go back to normal. I mean, we're not back to normal right now. That's why there's hundreds of us here. You know?
And what do you make of the fact that Canada's the only country with these limitations still on flight in and out of the country, flight within the country, all that stuff?
Well, the puppets we have in place are working that much harder than, say, our neighbors in the States to, you know, go for the communism and go for the, you know, Klaus Schwab puppets, right? He's very dedicated to taking away our freedoms, so that's why we have to fight. We have to continuously fight until all this ends. So that's where I'm at.
So as the rally was wrapping up here and folks were marching in compliance just for the sake of the laws. Oh, wait, there's no injunction anymore.
Right.
So they don't have to. But they're following the rules, being very well behaved. One person who was not allowed to attend the protest because of some rather questionable allegations by Calgary Police Services is Devlin Gannon. We did an exclusive interview with Devlin recently. We'll be sure to share that below in the article. But Devlin has been attending these events in very interesting fashion, remotely via this cart and wagon Bionic technology, so to speak. Devlin, how are you doing, and how does it feel to be able to participate at least in this fashion?
Well, I'm happy to be here, and I mean, merging man with machine is something I would usually be against, to be honest, but here I am, and I'm kind of getting used to doing this every weekend now, and I can just say, at least getting my presence down here at the rally is something I enjoy, and I can still experience it, and even virtually, it's an amazing time.
Well, the rally is just wrapping up here in Calgary. We're actually just going to run over quickly and check in with Pastor Derek Reimer to see how it's been going with him. As you likely recall, he was arrested and then released just a couple of weeks ago under the injunction. Turned out he had not violated the injunction. That's why he was immediately released. But we're going to see if a campaign of harassment has continued against him or if he has indeed been left alone. So, Pastor Derek, we just thought we'd check in. We were here a couple of weeks ago chatting with you. Has there been any sort of follow-up or harassment from police, or have they been leaving you alone?
They've been completely leaving us alone. Praise God. We're doing our thing out here. We're loud about it, and we're confident, and we're not going to stop.
Well, it is absolutely great to see that Pastor Derek Reimer is being left alone, unfettered here to preach and to feed the unhoused community here in Calgary. As the injunction has wrapped up, people are protesting peacefully. This street pastor feeding the homeless community here without being pestered once again. It's nice to see a return to some normality, but things are far from done here in Calgary and indeed across Canada. As we mentioned, people are still limited in their capacity to travel. There are still mandates in place, and the folks at the rally will continue to protest until that comes to an end. They made that absolutely clear to us today. As always, I want to thank you all so much for tuning in. For Rebel News, I'm Adam Soos. As Pastor Derek mentioned, the Democracy Fund, through the efforts and promotion that Rebel News is doing to help them fundraise, they are hiring lawyers across the country to stand up against vaccine mandates, unjust restrictions. We've been doing this since the onset of COVID-19. If you want to make a tax receipt eligible donation to the Democracy Fund to help hire lawyers to stand up for your rights, you can do so at fightvaccinepassports.com.